Nanuj Great Indian Bustard Sanctuary is situated 22 kilometers north of Solapur city in central Maharashtra, on State Highway 151, also known as the Solapur-Bashi Road. It was created in 1979 to protect the critically endangered Indian bustard, locally known as Maldok. This bird was once spread over all grassland areas of the Indian subcontinent, but in the last few decades, with the disappearance of grassland habitats all over India, it has declined and is now critically endangered, with estimates of less than 300 birds remaining. Nanuj village is 500 kilometers from our home in Goa, and we reached it in the afternoon of September the 3rd, 2013. We turned right in the centre of the village and drove to the sanctuary watchtower, which is 3 kilometers further on. Near the gate we met Nirjan, a photographer from Calcutta, who informed us that this year only 3 bustards had arrived. As it was getting late, we had a quick scan over the grassland from the watchtower and drove back to the office of the Forest Department, the governmental agency in charge of all protected areas in India. There we arranged permits and our accommodation for 2 nights in the forest rest house, which is across the road. The rest house has 4 rooms and costs 400 rupees per night. Food can be arranged and delivered from the village. In the morning we went to the gate near the watchtower and walked to the hide about 200 meters further on. This was the monsoon season in Maharashtra, and although this area does not get much rain, it was very windy, and conditions for filming were difficult as the wind shook the tripod. We scanned the area and saw a small herd of blackbuck, a beautiful antelope that, like the Indian bustard, was once common over grassland areas across India. The species has declined due to hunting and habitat loss, and blackbuck are now restricted to a few designated sanctuaries, where they're protected, and with good management numbers have increased. Now in these sanctuaries they are fairly common and easy to watch. After about an hour we saw our first male Great Indian bustard at a distance. This huge bird, more commonly known in India as GIB, can reach 122 centimeters, and at 18 kilograms is the heaviest flying bird in the world. It's easy to see when it comes out of the bush into the grassland. We learned from a scientist who works for the Bombay Natural History Society, who was in the hide with us, that there's been a sharp decline from 10 birds in 2012 to only 3 this year. The male we were watching and 2 females currently incubating their eggs. Later, we drove to other parts of the sanctuary and searched for other birds. Nanuj is good for other Deccan Plateau grassland birds like the Indian corsair, quails and larks. Indian bushlark is especially common here, and it's heard singing everywhere. Initially, the sanctuary covered a massive area of nearly 8,500 square kilometers, which created much tension with local people over rights to use their land, and which perhaps turned them hostile towards the birds. It was later reduced to its current size of about 600 hectares. However, it's not a contiguous stretch, but a discontinuous area divided into plots, some of which are owned by the government, while others are private agricultural lands. The landscape was originally mainly grassland with a few acacia trees and bushes, ideal landscape for bustards. The Forest Department, however, planted many plots with trees that have become extremely dense, and thus the grassland has been converted to woodland, less suitable for the birds. While out filming birds, I walked into this wolf that, surprisingly, was not worried at all and retreated slowly. Indian wolves are smaller than European ones. They do not form large packs like northern wolves, and their social structure is more similar to that of dingoes and jackals. Packs typically consist of a nuclear family of 6 to 8 animals, though pairs are more common. They typically prey on antelopes, rodents and rabbits, but also on domestic animals like sheep and goats, and sometimes even on small children. After lunch and a siesta at the rest house, we went back to the hide for a last visit in the afternoon. The Great Indian Bustard Sanctuary in Nanaj was initially the best success of Project Bustard, initiated by the government in the 1970s, when GIB sanctuaries were declared in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. Numbers increased from 15 birds in the early 1990s to 35 at the turn of the 21st century. The female lays only a single egg once a year. Since these birds do not build nests and lay on bare ground, the eggs are at risk of destruction by other animals. Bad management of grassland by planting trees, retaliation by local people due to restrictions imposed by the initial unrealistic size of the sanctuary, predation by domestic dogs and destruction of eggs by blackbuck and domestic animals are thought to be the main reason for the decline. As we watched the male walking slowly in front of a herd of blackbuck and then taking off, we wondered if we might be watching the last bustard of Nanaj.